Bonjour people, como están, and welcome to the next Journey Mode, Master Mode, whatchamacallit episode thing that's gonna happen right now. So, if you haven't noticed, I'm doing a Journey Mode, Master Mode playlist type thing, and it was gonna be like a playthrough, but then it started evolving and I did just stuff on the world, and now it's gonna be building houses, because yes, so basically, my entire goal for this entire world is going to be to build a bunch of different themed houses and all of this onto this one world, and then probably at the end of this series I'll add in a downloadable link to the map itself where all these houses are going to be built around the idea of being sustainable, sufficient, well, I guess really not sustainable, but don't worry about that part. They're going to be easily usable. I'm not remembering words right now, but houses that are built for mostly the effect of just adding some nice detail to your world, but mostly being used to just house NPCs and not for an overall design that isn't really functional. So functionality, that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, this is the little nook I'm using in the jungle for this build. So I needed a spot to fish in the jungle, like any other biome. You always should have a spot to fish that should be near your pylon. So this is where I decided to start off, and this build is going to have two different style houses, and you'll see that very clearly once we get to the start of the second house. And then both of these houses, they're going to have false bottoms and stuff like that, but they're only going to have false bottoms on the side, even though they are built into the side of these mountains, or hills, or whatever you would call them. And the reason I didn't do false bottom all the way around is because normally when you're setting something into a place, depending on the style that you're building, since with Terraria you can see everything since it's 2D, I just like the idea of having that more rooted sense on the bottom since it is the bottom of the house, and then using support pillars on the inside versus trying to build a root into the entire mountain surrounding the house because it seemed a bit too much to add. So most of this first house is going to be mostly built out of mahogany and dynasty wood. The dynasty wood is being built or is being used as support pillars with actuators to push it to the back. Now, this is meant to be a pre-Skeletron house. Besides the fact that I'm using actuators, I haven't even beat Skeletron on this world. The only reason I have them is because I am on the secret seed that is the release date of Terraria, which gives you a dungeon that is at the very top of the world, if you know what I mean, and have played that seed. If you don't, go find the seed because it's fun, and I mostly just used it for the Moonlord legs, and now we are here. So, with that being said, I hate the look of mahogany. Yeah, as I was building this house, I don't know why I used mahogany. I utterly hate it. It's like my hate for birch in Minecraft, where whenever I see a birch tree, I decide to go ahead and just not touch it, burn it, throw the wood in lava. Yeah. So all the mahogany was painted brown. It gave it more of a palm wood type look to it, but with that same texture in the mahogany, which I like, which gave it that where the texture is what held it to the more jungle style feel. And yeah, as you can see, there's lanterns. That's because I just killed whatchamacallit, the Eye of Cthulhu. I can't remember names very well today, but that's fine. And then in this little nook that I put in the back here, I did add some mahogany fence, which I later changed to bamboo, as you'll see, because I like it when you can actually see through the window and it's not just like this boarded up mess. So yeah, and then this larger room is mostly going to be the pylon room, and it will be corrected for center, where it's going to be 3 wide at the center and not 2 wide, so that the pylon fits correctly. Then I used the lanterns here, including the paper lanterns, just to add some more texture, a nicer look to the overall design of the house. The lanterns give off, well, both the lights give off a very nice light, white, bright color, and then the mahogany lights, the mahogany table and chair, give that nice, colorful accent. And then I experimented with just doing the canvas lights. I don't remember what they're called, the paper lanterns, but then I went against that because they really didn't work and were just a bit too much to be used throughout the entire house. And then I went on to build the support for the entire house, which in hindsight I made way too thick. So yeah, I might change that later on, but that's just how I left it. And then everything was rooted in with mudstone because, yes, mudstone in the jungle is the best tool to use as a false foundation because it blends so nicely into the mud. And then, while the first house isn't entirely done, it still has a few other things that are going to happen to it. And as this video progresses, I started working on getting the Dryad there so I could have one NPC so she could sell me the pylon, and start working on the other house. The other house, I wanted to work more with the bamboo that is the new block that you can get from the jungle. So I started building out the false bottom, the main sides of the house, and this was definitely a different style, a different look to it, where you've got that more church style-esque house, Roman Catholic, I guess you could say. For the right hand, more of that jungle-ish type, you can maybe say voodoo type style architecture, just still that more Catholic church with massive opening to the front. And then I added on the shingles to the bamboo house because I love the contrast between that lighter green and the more strong red that exists in the shingles. And then I did something questionable. I threw on some of the actuators into the shingles to give some more depth to the roof, even though it doesn't give more depth. I could have left it solid, but it just seemed too much. But looking at it again, it may have been just enough to leave it solid. I wasn't sure. And then, yes, I recorded through a blood moon. I really didn't want to wait, and this had been the third blood moon I had gotten in the world, so be quiet. Don't worry about it. And then I started adding in some support pillars to the bamboo house with some stone inside, sort of to give that sense of this house is supported into this little nook on the side of the world. And then I just used bamboo for the wall. This one was definitely a lot more of a simpler house, just something you could easily create and use on any part of the world, even without it being stuck into the side of a wall. And then from there, where am I doing? Right, I am changing the windows and adding in the bamboo windows. Honestly, bamboo windows are probably my favorite thing to create in the jungle just because they fit so nicely. And then from there I started working on figuring out how I'm going to build a bridge between these, or build a connection between these. I ended up finding a tutorial a while before this by a YouTuber named Khaos, who does a bunch of building on Terraria, and I was like, yes, please, this is the best way to build a rope bridge because I've never learned, and every time I've tried, I haven't, because rope bridges were just like, ooh, that is a sketchy look. So I used his style of rope bridge in this build, which is honestly amazing, and it's so great because it looks so nice. And then I just threw out some outdoor lights halfway through building the bridge because I was just struggling to stay on one thing at a time apparently during this. And yeah, I'll leave the link to his video on how he makes the rope bridge down below because it's a really great idea and way to build a bridge, and you should go watch it. And yeah, so then with that, it was just on to doing a bit more decoration. Then also with the rope bridge, which I forgot to mention, was the fact that it allows you to fish through it, which is something I hadn't forgotten about halfway through building this, where I was like, right, I need to build a rope bridge or a place to build a fishing spot. And then I just ran over to the traveling merchant real quick to get some stuff, and then he did sell these white team blocks. I'm not sure if the team blocks have different textures depending on the color. I'll look into that. But they were, I really love the look of the team block, and I might use that in a later build. We'll see what happens with those, because I really like that internal design that they carry. But yeah, normally with the bridges, I tend to just use platforms. And I was thinking I was not going to talk so much during this, but apparently I am. And then I just went on to add some waterfalls. This commentary is as messy as my building process throughout this entire thing. This is lovely. So yeah, I just ran some waterfalls off the edge. One thing I may have done differently was probably terraform the left hand side, or maybe the right hand side to come inwards more so that I could have more differentiated streams of water. I do like how it runs onto the shingled house and runs off there, but it sort of just condensed all those waterfalls into one stream, which wasn't a bad thing. And then I just died because there were so many mobs here. That was another thing. If you build this style house, you might want to do a dome style covering over the top, because mobs have a tendency to fall in and cause a ton of problems, because yeah, that's what they love to do. And especially if there's a slime rain or something, I did get caught a bunch of times with a ton of slimes down there, and since they can't leave and only want to kill you, they don't want to leave. So it does get a bit crowded. Then I just add a bit more detail to the houses because I thought they were just lacking a bit. And until I throw in the pylon, that larger section of the room definitely does look like it needs a bit more in it. And then I went ahead and built the bamboo houses support because, yes, I'm not sure. My brain was everywhere during this build. Hopefully it's not the next time I do this, but either way, we'll see. And it was definitely, I wish I'd done the support on the bamboo house a bit differently, because that definitely was very flat. Even with the wooden house, I'm not sure how to differentiate these two, the Roman Catholic versus the bamboo. Even though it's really not a Roman Catholic, that's fine. The Dynasty wood has, at least gave me more texture than the bamboo did. The bamboo was very flat and very, everything was very, not unique, everything was blended. That's what I'm looking for. I only took art for multiple years. Everything was very splendid, smooth, and not unique. And I sort of wish I changed that, because I hated the look of it. And then here's the part where I actually go ahead and change this side post just so that everything is properly and evenly built in here. But the Dynasty wood, at least when you're building with it, there's that difference in the texture from that to the mahogany, as you can see towards the top, which definitely gives it more of that support look, even though it is very, very thick and could have been changed easily. And then, after I changed this last part up, that is the end of this build. It was fun to make. You can definitely recreate this before having to fight Skeletron without using the pillars, because if you use something like fencing like I did in the bamboo house, it definitely makes it a lot easier and doesn't mean you need actuators. But besides that, that is gonna be how this video ends. This was a mess, but hopefully this won't be a mess for following videos. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, you should like, subscribe, yada yada, all that fun stuff. Leave a comment down below on the next house style you'd like for me to see. I'm probably not going to listen for this first video, but go ahead and try. And from there on, if you want to see the other videos in this series, go on and go check the playlist out down below. There's always a bunch of fun stuff in the description. And I'll see you guys next time.